I'm Giulio Buscaroli. I'm working in the WASP sales team, and I work in the business development. I came into WASP as a student of industrial engineering back in 2016. Originally, I worked in the first pellet printing machines. At the time, it was still very experimental. So it was really amazing for me to be working in a company that was looking into different way of producing objects using also recycled materials. And basically, my journey started there. At the time, the company was still very small, but I think the vision was really the same that we have today. So developing technology, developing advanced solution, but with an idea of this technology at the service for humanity and with a vision on sustainability too. So in 2023, we believe that it doesn't make sense to produce more things, more technology, if this is part of the problem and not part of the solution. So this is kind of the approach we'd like to have.
You mentioned that you've been with WASP for 7 years. What has been the biggest learning experience for you being here?
I think the most interesting part of my job is being continuously in contact with a lot of people, designers that have the chance to connect together to create new solutions. So it's amazing to see how every week we get in contact with new people.
When you first started at WASP, you were mostly involved with producing these machines that are pellet-based extrusion machines, 3D printers, or smaller scale 3D printers. And then eventually WASP scaled up and started getting to large scale additive manufacturing. And we're sitting now in the Gaia house. And this is the proof of concept of what you can do with this technology, how you can print with natural materials.
For us, it was a very natural journey to start from small printers and getting into something bigger, because when the company started, it was no more than a group of passionate people that wanted to create something good. It's natural that still today our core business comes from smaller printers. This feels strange as we are sitting in a 3D printed house, but I think it's like a way of growing organically. With this approach, we were able to get here with some real solution for green manufacturing of structures and buildings.
And Gaia is not the only house you built. You built a bunch of different buildings. These all are kind of a proof of concept or an experiment in a way, but also these buildings have been widely published and they were a reference for 3D printing in large scale manufacturing construction. Can you list those buildings off the top of your head and maybe the key challenges and takeaways, the learnings from these?
Yes. I started working in the company, as I mentioned, in 2016. And at the time, we experimented the print with a huge delta system. You can still see on our part the big delta 12 meter. And we experimented on a project that has not been published a lot because it was very, very experimental, called Eremo. And at the time, it was really like, let's try taking some soil from the ground. Let's put in some hay. Let's see how it works. And we could print something. I think that was a great first result for us. But what was really the lesson in that case, for example, is how many limits, how many problems in the use of the machine we still have to face. For example, transporting this material, replicating it, making it always the same. So I think that was a first step. It was very important because after that project, we redesigned the machine. So I always like to say that we design the machines while we build houses. Because when you are building, you will get to think what is the best way I can approach this problem, what is the smart machine I could use that is not huge, that is easy to transport, that will print the best way. In Gaia is where we started to develop our crane WASP, which is our current building technology. And I think it was a revolution for us because it's a very small, compact machine that can print and deliver big structures. And this is very important because if you think about it, the smallest and the more compact is the system you need to transport. Probably the easier is to scale it up, to bring it to different areas in the world, to make it affordable. So that's something that started here. I remember the first version of the machine was really, really prototypal. Some components, most of the components were the components we were using for the small machines, and we kind of adapted it we quickly realized that we needed something different, but it was still a good way of starting. And printing this thing, I don't remember the exact number of days that it took, but I think it was something like 2 or 3 weeks. But it was not for printing, because for printing it doesn't take that much. But it was like we were doing 1 day printing, 2 days of redesigning and changing the machine, and then 1 day of printing. And after the house was done, the machine was completely different. After that, I think the most relevant thing we did was the project with Dior that commissioned us a building. We were really happy to be contacted by a big company that did not just wanted to create something with the 3D printing just to show a new technology, but they wanted to do it with us because they believe in the power of the sustainability of the process.
Yeah.
So we went there with a natural material, and we were able to produce there a building that in the design was very similar to this one, but it was made out of 2 units. And with the larger structure, everything was a bit more in the style of the org.
It's a Tekla house. What was interesting also from a structural standpoint is that you really tried as much as possible to get to print the entire roof and then a skylight. While most 3D printed buildings like this one is basically an exterior enclosure and then the roof is added on top. At your store, you attempted to do a pattern which replicates the sort of language that Dior uses in its products. And in this house, what's interesting is the direction in using fibers that are natural and natural materials, which is, I believe, from our conversations, is a direction that WASP is seriously going into.
Yeah, we believe that the 3D printing revolution is just partial if we cannot put on the table the materials we are using. So in the industrial era, we've been, of course, focusing a lot on the cement-based materials. This is because, of course, the performances we can get with these materials are incredibly high, but there is a cost for that, and there is a cost that everyone is paying, and it's a cost that is on the energy that is consumed for producing this kind of material, which is very high, and it's a cost that we pay at the end of the life of these buildings, because when you build something, we build them like we are endless, like we can live longer than our building, but it's not like that.
True.
Normally, what we build will just stay there after we are gone. And I think this puts a lot in discussion. The material itself we use for the print, the earth is giving us a lot of resources, and this is what ancient civilizations were doing as well, taking what's on the place and transforming it on place into something that can work as a shelter for us. So we want to kind of get back to that approach, and it's incredible to see how actually, if you can process these materials with the right knowledge, the best way, you can get performances for the material that are no less than concrete. If you take a look at the structures that we still have left from the Roman empires and from ancient civilizations, they are standing there after 2,000 years. We are using them, and just imagine this happening with the stuff we're building in concrete is not possible. So we want to get all the knowledge possible. I think that's what the humanity needs to do right now. So let's concentrate, let's use all the knowledge we have all together to deliver solutions that use something ancient, so local materials with less impact, in a new approach. So we believe that 3D printing is one of the tools that can help us achieve this goal. We don't believe 3D printing is a 360 solution.
The vision of the founder was Massimo Moretti, and he was talking to me yesterday about natural materials and coexisting with nature through the use of technology. It's a very unique vision. And yesterday we were going around the house and you pointed out some wasp,
the
pottery wasp nests that are printed onto the structure of the house. And, you see that your creations that are completely kind of digitally fabricated are becoming ecosystems and in their own right for the nature to take over.
Our name WASP actually comes from this small potter wasp we saw in the outside of the house. It's incredibly If you take a look at this animal, how it works, it's incredibly similar to what we are doing today. So if you take a look at these structures they create, is not much different from the house we are sitting in. I think here is where we get to the point. So this animal in nature has found a way already to do that, taking material locally and transform it into something else, something with a different use, with a very low impact on the ecosystem, because this is how nature works. In nature, if something is not sustainable, it's not sustainable. There is not somebody else that will come from outside and fix it. So it has to be sustainable.
Yeah.
So we kind of want to mimic that, and we believe that technology is now transforming in a way that can help us doing that.
But what do you think the contribution of 3D printing, especially to someone who doesn't know the technology very well, how could 3D printing really enhance the quality of life?
I think 3D printing has a big chance of changing our lives in positive, because it has some very interesting advantages. For example, one for all is using just the material needed. Another interesting feature that the 3D printing grants us is we can finally access some geometries, some ways of shaping the materials that were inaccessible in the past. If we look at nature again, we see that the shapes in nature are complex. We will never find a tube in nature. Sometimes we can find something similar to a cylinder, but nature is never regular. Nature is there is a lot of adaptation in the shape of things that nature does to make things efficient. Probably 3D printing can help us in that. So we can finally access the mass customization, which is a very strange term to associate with nature, but that's what nature does, because it's adaptive. When you plant a tree in a place or in another, it will grow completely different. It's the same tree, but it grows depending on the environment. So we can go into something like that.